Shalom. Welcome back to another video. Before I get started, let me give all the praise, honor, and glory to the beloved Heavenly Father in the name of His only begotten Son, Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai Bahashim, Ruach Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. Peace, love, and salutation to you, Akim, pushing His word and believing in His word, as well as you few sincere Akwaf that are believing in His word. To you all I say Shalom. It's your fellow servant Malachiah, back with another lesson, and as always I pray be edifying to the Lord's elect. I came across this video and instantly it made me think about the conversation that me and the Akim had about a couple weeks ago. We was going into how Jake, Jake is short for Jacob, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. But we were going into how Jake, makes captivity, look good, man. Ray Jake is at the bottom. He's in the slums, the projects, everywhere you go. Okay, the last hired, the first fired. Yet he still makes it look like he's winning in captivity, and that's just the spirit of Jake, man. Because we are the sons, the daughters, the children of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, man. We are the people of the Heavenly Father. That's how, man. It don't matter what state we in, we still gonna have that shine to us, man. Right? That's the glory of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai that's resting upon us, man. Right? But anyway, I'm gonna play this video and I'm gonna grab a couple precepts, and then that'll be that. Check this out.
Very, very, very attracted to black men. I feel like they're just so exotic looking, and I also like their upbringing because we have very similar upbringing.
Black people in America and Russians have similar upbringing.
Very strict.
What does this mean? What does strict mean?
Like, you have to respect your elders. There's like, if you have food on the plate, you have to finish the plate. Family values. It's like very similar. So a lot of times, and I can have a very deep and spiritual conversation with a black person. I can count on my hand how many times I had a deep and spiritual conversation with a white person in America. You would be surprised. That's why when I moved to Atlanta, I was like, oh my God, I feel like I'm home now. Because it's like a lot of times it'd be like, oh my God, girl, no, I just can't. It's like, bro, speak words. I don't, what are you doing?
What does this mean?
Or it would be so, if you say something, I haven't seen my family in 10 years. They'd be like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, I'm not asking for your sorry.
Yeah, we're just talking.
We're just having a conversation.
Yeah.
And this whole thing of like this white American notion of saying, I'm sorry about everything. It's like, why are you sorry? I didn't ask you for that. I'm not begging you for sorry.
Yeah.
I'm actually sharing my thoughts, and I'm expecting you to share your thoughts back.
Yeah.
All right, you hear that?
I also like.
Hey, she says she's very, very, very attracted
because
to
we
Jake.
have very similar.
So like she said she's very, very attracted to Jake. She put the emphasis on it, man. And I guarantee it's a Jake round the way taking her through there. Right? But anyway, she goes on to say how her spirit resonates with Jake more. And she just, she's more comfortable around Jake. And these other nations, they won't admit it, but they are also attracted to, the light of the Israelites, man. That's why you have all of these different nations that try to mimic the things that Jake do, from the music, the culture, all right, the dancing, the slang talk. When you look at little Timmy, all right, little Bob, they're not trying to mimic the so-called white man. All right, they're doing the things that Jake is doing, man. You got these little Edomite kids, acting like YNs, man. YCs, young crackers. But anyway, like I was saying, that's just the spirit that's on Jake, man. Jake could take nothing and turn it into something. That's why Jake often say, getting it out the mud. Jake is really the form of all things, like the scriptures say, And the scriptures also say, he that is honorable in poverty, how much more in riches. And as a matter of fact, let's start with that. Because, we are at the lowest state of society, man. In the eyes of the other nations, no other nation don't want to be in our position. All right? They want our culture, they want our swag, they want our walk, they want our talk, man. But they don't want to go through the shit that Jake is going through, man. And that goes to show you that we are truly the people of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. We just in the lowest state right now because we transgressed against the Heavenly Father, man. But even though we are at the bottom in the eyes of the other people, we still on top, man, because of who we are through the Spirit. all right, because of who our power is. And call Lord Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai for that, man. We could have woke up as an Edomite. We could have woke up as a Hamite, man. All right? So even in our captivity, we still have some sort of glory, man. All right? We're just waiting on Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai to restore that full glory unto us, man. Okay? And this goes to show you, man, that Jake is made to win. When you look at these devils, the so-called white man, they got everything that man could wish for, all right? A carnal man, because, of course, a spiritual man knows that the riches of this world and the prosperity of the world is nothing compared to the true riches of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. You see what I'm saying? But through the eyes of the world, the so-called white man has everything that heart can wish for, man. You know? But he's a bastard at his table. And also he's dishonored in riches. So the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans are honored in poverty, but this devil is dishonored in riches. That's why you Jakes, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans who try to fasten yourselves after the so-called white man, you're fashioning yourselves after the so-called white man because of his riches, because of his lifestyle. You're coveting after the things that he has. That doesn't mean shit, man, because he's still dishonored even though he has all of these things, man. His own women are still desiring Jake. That's why the scriptures also say that I have seen servants upon horses, because these devils and these other nations were meant to be servants to the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, man. It also says I have seen princes walking upon the earth, man. All right, that represents the Israelites being in a low state, but it's getting ready to be reversed, man. Okay, but let's go to the book of Sirach. All right, this is Ecclesiasticus, also known as Sirach, the 10th chapter and the 31st verse. As a matter of fact, let's start at verse 29. Let's get all that meat. It says, who will justify him that sinneth against his own soul, and who will honor him that dishonoreth his own life? The poor man is honored for his skill, and the rich man is honored for his riches. Verse 31, a point. He that is honored in poverty, how much more in riches? And Jake is honored in poverty, man. Okay, like I said, these other nations won't admit it, but they look at Jake in awe, man. Nobody can slam dunk and dribble and cross over like Jake. Nobody can get out there on that football field and run that shit like Jake, man. If the NFL and the NBA was full of Edomites, that should be boring as fuck. All right? Jake brings excitement to the world. Jake is the flavor in this world, man. Without Jake, this motherfucker plain as hell. And we're going to grab that next. You Akim should know where I'm going with that next. All right? But this is Sirach 10 and 31. Again, from the top, it says, he that is honored in poverty, how much more in riches? So not only is Jake honored here, he's going to be honored in the next life, but on an exponential level, man. Because Jake is going to have the laws instilled into him. So if Jake is the shit now, how much more when he's fashioned in the likeness of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, man? When the laws are written in his heart. Okay? And that goes for all the Israelites, but starting with the Israelite man. Okay? Because we know on this side, the woman has been put on that pedestal. But the Lord is going to make what? A man more precious than fine gold. The men are the ones who are going to bring back the nation, who's going to reestablish the order. Okay? Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai is going to establish the order. All right? But his men, okay, are going to make sure that order is being lived up to. The standard is being lived up to. Okay? Things are being judged according to righteousness through his men. All right? But it says here, he that is honored in poverty, how much more in riches? And he that is dishonorable in riches, how much more in poverty? So, the whole world is, waking up to the wickedness and the ways of the so-called white man. He's beginning to be dishonorable. He's already been dishonorable, but in the eyes of the world, he's becoming more and more dishonorable. As it says in Jeremiah 49 and 10, the Lord is going to make Esau bare. He's going to uncover his secret parts, man. So the so-called white man is not able to hide himself anymore and put himself on the pedestal to try to make it seem like he's the good guy. Okay, he's the one that you should be trying to try to be idolize. No, man, it's the other way around. But for the Jakes that's in righteousness, for the Israelites that are in righteousness, man, because we're walking in the ways of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, man. That's why we are a light to this world. And these other nations are attracted to that light. All right. Let's go to Matthew chapter 5. All right. And you, Akim, should know where I'm going with this one right here. This is Matthew 5 and verse 13. It says, ye are the salt of the earth. Jake the flavor, man. Like I said, all the way down to the northern kingdom. You got the northern kingdom with the salsa. They dance move, how they get down, the way they dress, the way they talk, the way they cook. It's flavored with season, man. And you bring it back to the southern kingdom. Hey, I ain't even got to say more, man. Okay? The Israelites got everything in the chokehold, man. Jake done took over hockey, golf, swimming. They even got a Jake damn snowboarder, man. Jake is dominant in all things. That's why they had to hide this truth from us, man. That's why they had to hide our power. But call Lord Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, man, we have been stirred up by the way of remembrance, our pure minds. Lord, when we be part of that number that continues to endure, man, and actually gets to receive that glory on the full scale, man, in righteousness. Because it ain't just about dancing. It ain't just about dunking a basketball, man. Okay? It's about being in alignment with Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. All right? Being fashioned in the likeness of the Heavenly Father and His Son. That's what it's about, man. That's how we're going to achieve that true glory, man, that everlasting glory. Because the glory on this side, dunking the basketball or being able to score a touchdown, all right, that's only going to last until you go into that ground, man. When you go back up, when your spirit goes back up, all right, you're not going to be able to brag about how many points you had per game, how good you were with the dance moves. You're not going to be able to take those things and those accolades with you because they don't matter, man. So the true glory, all right, is that when we walk in the ordinances of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, man. All right, this is Matthew 5 and verse 13. Ye are the salt of the earth, but if the salt have lost its savor, wherewith shall it be salted? It is thenceforth good for nothing but to be cast out and to be trodden under foot of men. So, hey, the world ain't shit without Jake, man. Because the world was made for what? For our sakes. It tells you that in 2nd Esdras, the 6th chapter. The world was made for the sake of the so-called Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans. And it shows, man. It shows. Jake do what he does effortlessly. The tribes, all right, the Northern Kingdom, Ephraim, especially Ephraim, man. You can't tell Ephraim shit. Okay. Issachar, they do what they do effortlessly, man. While you see the other nations trying to be like Jake. All right. Especially Esau. That nigga ain't got no tradition. That nigga ain't got no tradition when it come to dancing, food. Like the brothers always say, they favorite dish is sauerkraut. All right. Green bean casserole and shit. Verse 14, like the other apostles Tahar always say, man, you got to have fun with this sometimes. All right, but this is Matthew 5 and 14. Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. Hey, we that city, man. You can't hide the glory of the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. It don't matter how you try to downplay, all right, their existence. They 3/5 of a man. They 13% of the pop. Fuck all them pseudo-science ass statistics, man. Deuteronomy 7 and 6, the Lord chose us to be above all nations, man. That's why it makes us sick when you Jakes, You try to give your heritage away, or you try to include the other nations into this, man. You're making the Heavenly Father out to be a liar. You're making Yahweh Shai out to be a liar. You're making the apostles out to be liars, man. This is the heritage that the Lord gave us. This is the spirit that Yahweh Shai bestowed upon us, man. To be the greatest in everything that we do, because we are the former of all things. Matthew 5:14 again from the top. Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on an hill cannot be hid. And that's exactly why Jake, right, the righteous Israelites are perfect for rulership, man. That light is what's going to keep the other nations in line, man. All right. Let me grab one more, and I'm going to close it out. This is 2 Samuel chapter 7. Let me drop down to verse 22. It says, wherefore thou art great, O Lord Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai power, for there is none like thee, neither is there any God beside thee, according to all that we have heard with our ears, and according to what we seen, man. Buddha ain't doing nothing. That fat ass nigga's just a statue, man. Allah, that's just a you know, that's just a word for God, man. That's not a true name. That's not a true power. Okay, Shiva, whatever these other guys' names is, man. They don't exist. Yahweh is the one only true power, man. The one that delivered us out of Egypt. Okay? And the great thing about it is the one people that he chose, we happen to fall within that lineage. Like I said, we could have woke up as an Edomite, a Hamite, a Ishmaelite, you know? So we can't take this thing for granted. But let's continue on. This is verse 23. It says, and what one nation in the earth is like thy people? Nobody. All right? Nobody, man. This is a rhetorical question. The Lord is literally telling you that there's nobody like his people, man. Come on. Verse 23 from the top. And what one nation in the earth is like thy people, even like Israel, whom the Most High went to redeem for a people to himself, and to make him a name, and to do for you great things and terrible, for thy land, before thy people, which thou redeemest to thee from Egypt, from the nations and their gods. Right? There's none in the earth like Israel, just like there's none other power, man. There's no other gods among Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. All right, verse 24, for thou hast confirmed to thyself thy people Israel to be a people unto thee forever. Just because the Lord exiled us and, you know, hid his face from us for a little while, that doesn't mean that we're still not his people. As it says in Romans, have the Most High cast away his people? Yahweh forbid. So the Lord is still dealing, man. That's why we're going to do everything in our power to walk this walk, man. All right? To be blameless to the best of our ability, so that we can inherit the rest of that glory, which is that eternal glory, man. All right? Like I said, not dunking the basketball or no other accolades on this side, right? But the consolation that's awaiting those that endure to the end, those that are going to endure forever. That's the consolation that's going to endure forever, man. That's the glory that's going to abide forevermore. This is the rest of verse 24. I'm going to start from the top. For thou hast confirmed to thyself thy people Israel to be a people unto thee forever. And thou, Lord, art become their power. I'm going to end this lesson by giving all the praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. See you, Akim, and you, Akwaf, on the next lesson, Lord willing. Shalom, wa, abba, babal.